Hello and welcome back to Saturday Night Later, the show where sketch teachers and writers break down SNL sketches so we can learn about the structure that goes into writing sketch comedy. I'm your host, Marina Templesman, the writer of the upcoming book, Unusual Things, a guide to sketch comedy for writers, fans, and everyone else. And I'm joined by my amazing co-host and author of the Substack, My Comedy Fantasy, Madalyn Baldanzi. Hello, Madalyn.
Hello.
Hello. And with us today is a very special guest. He is a Just for Laughs new face. You've seen him on Dickinson, American Horror Story, That Damn Michael Che, We Crashed, and The Politician. He performs at the UCB with his sketch team, The Foundation. Please welcome Tristan Griffin.
Woo!
Yes, Tristan.
Thank
Tristan,
you. Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. It has been too long, and you are just one of the most incredible performers of sketch, of really so many things. I feel like I run into you because I see you popping up in so many TV shows all the time. But it's just so wonderful to have you here.
I'm so excited. I will say I've worked with you both before, so I know your expertise in sketch. Mad Dog, I know we did some sketch cram back in the day, and obviously Marina Foundation in Room 4.
Yeah.
So,
if I recall, you memorized some long monologues very quickly and crushed them.
I appreciate that.
Not all the other incredible.
I know. I remember going psycho the hour before because I was like, yeah, it's a lot to memorize, but it's all good.
Oh man, I'm so glad you're here for this episode in particular because we'll get into it in a sec. But basically, Tristan, you're such an incredible performer, also such an incredible writer, and I think you have the experience both of writing for yourself, of also performing things that people have written for you. You're an amazing individual performer, a team player, and there are so many things about this episode that I think your experience will be really helpful in unpacking, because there's so much kind of character adjacent stuff that kind of came up that I really want to talk about in this episode. And we'll do that on a sketch by sketch basis. But first, I'd love to just do a temperature check. Well, actually, no, wait, sorry. Before I do the temperature check, quick thing. I'm going to give the usual kind of explanation of why we do this show, which is basically, as sketch teachers, we always tell students, see as many shows as you can. You learn so much from watching sketch shows, live shows in particular, from watching shows, from talking about them, from thinking through them, thinking what works for you, what doesn't, comparing notes. And Saturday Night Live is thankfully a sketch show that we all have access to. And so it's kind of a common material that we can all read and learn from together. So the reason we do the show is so that we can kind of learn from SNL in the same way that sketch students learn from seeing shows that they might see at the UCB or the Pit or the Magnet or any other theater. So I know each of us has had our shows scrutinized by students in service of learning. And I feel that is important to mention going into this episode because I thought this one was a pretty rough one, honestly. And I think that for me, that was my takeaway, was that it was a rough one. And I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, your temperature checks, but I do always want to make sure that people know that when we're talking through things, it's in the spirit of learning how to write, how to structure things, all that stuff. So, okay, with that said, I'll turn it over to you guys. Temperature check for you. What did you think about this episode?
Well, I would just like to put these SNL writers on blast. And that's basically the most polite thing I can say. But also, there's something so fascinating about having a legend and truly historically likable performer turn in one of the least likable SNL episodes that I've ever seen. But I do think there's some of these I'm just kind of, my mouth is on the floor about, but some of them are instructive and will be helpful today to talk about. So there'll still be some good stuff. But in terms of SNL temperature, burr.
Ooh.
Frosty. All right, Tristan, what were your thoughts on this one?
All right off the bat, I will say I enjoyed the extended cut of this episode because there are 4 really strong pieces that should have been. And it's funny because I will say this, I kind of passed out on Saturday night watching this episode, so I missed a lot. But then the next morning I saw the Hormuz Jeff, and I was like, oh, this is sketch of the night. And little did I know, I was like, oh, it wasn't even in the show. Oh, good
Yeah.
God. I didn't know that. So for me, and I'll probably be playing good cop in this episode too, a little bit,
totally.
trying to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, the extended cut of this episode I thought was really good because for me, and particularly for this episode, I think this episode was a great example of writing for a very skilled sketch performer and skilled comedian, and learning that Will Ferrell is definitely the king of saying the most absurd shit ever. But it is like instances where it is just like, could that doctor sketch work with Matt Damon? Or hell, could it work with Olivia Rodrigo? You never know. So it is just like you got to really focus on the the sketch as a whole and not be dependent on the performer. And once again, I think this episode is a very, very good example of that.
Yes, I think that's really interesting. And actually, what's funny is Tristan, you're not the first person I've spoken to today who was like, "Well, what about that Hormuz sketch?" And I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't in the show, right?" It's so interesting, and that's true for I think all three. And what Tristan was referring to is like what they call the cut for time sketches, right? Those are the sketches that are in the dress rehearsal but don't make it to the air, so they put them up on YouTube afterwards. I will also say I learned after the fact that one of the sketches in this night's show was a previous cut for time sketch 7 years ago, actually.
Yes.
Which one?
The
cast list.
The cast list one. So yeah. So anyway, this was a really kind of a bizarre confluence
I think
of
when
things.
you have a very legendary SNL host come, I think that's a really tricky situation to be in as a writer.
Yes.
So and it can go very, very right, but it didn't quite go right on this night. I think that's
I'm like, you got Molly Shannon there. You guys don't want to do dog show? You want to bring that back?
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's jump into the specific sketches without further ado, because I think that it's going to be very interesting to talk through them. So, okay. And actually, Tristan, quick question for you. Have you been watching SNL UK, by the way? And don't worry if you haven't been. I just was curious because there was some funny synchronicity this episode.
I definitely have. And yeah, they're quick to the game. They're pretty quick.
It was actually funny just because this episode, the cold open for the previous week's episode also had like a little bit of a Ghost of Future kind of thing going on a little bit. So anyway, but yeah, let's talk about this cold open again with the usual caveat that the cold open is usually the least sketchy of the sketches of the night structurally because it's sort of its own kind of reference grab bag. What jumped out to you guys about this cold open, things that might be teachable here? Madalyn, I'll throw it over to you first and then Tristan.
I think that there's not, maybe there was a little bit more game here than we usually get, sort of like the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein past, sort of telling the future of things. So it was maybe a more thoughtful, that came out wrong. It was more of a like traditional game comedy premise than we used to seeing these cold opens, because as we've talked about a lot on the podcast, oftentimes these are just a grab bag of topical things and it's hard to talk about them as a sketch. I just Will Ferrell's Jeff Epstein was like uncannily similar, so I was like, okay, yeah. And I guess I was just thinking about it a lot in terms of like, how can you make sure that your topical sketch is punching in the right direction, right? Because you always want to be punching up and never punching down, which I think is something that we talk about a lot in UCB sketch classes. And I liked that they were making Trump seem pally with Jeffrey Epstein, just as like choosing this as a topic. Like, I guess that's a good satirical point to make. But I think maybe like SNL needs to make a rule for Trump sketches where if Trump would probably like it, then you're not punching up enough. And I think it almost like, instead of making Trump look bad, this made Jeffrey Epstein more appealing or more palatable. And so I'm just having a hard time doing anything other than being like incredibly offended by this.
Totally fair. Yeah, Tristan, what were your thoughts on this one?
It's like so difficult to play monsters, and it's crazy because back in the day, Will Ferrell used to play Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and even like those sketches can get like cringe because like fucking Unabomber. First off, I didn't realize Will Ferrell had a Jeffrey Epstein. That's something brand new. And then I know James Austin Johnson has like a ton of other impressions up his arsenal, and I feel like this is obviously the topical one that he has to kind of do. They're jokes. They're dark, but they're structurally it's jokes are there. And there's a nice turn of the Kristi Noem bit in the hex up. And I actually had a thing with Aziz's Cash Patel, which I don't mind, but I feel like yes, we know Cash has some crazy looking eyes and whatnot, but I do feel like the jokes kind of come off as like not strong enough for me. It's like I think it was like the first time Aziz did it, and it was just like I cross every T and like cross every I or something like that, and it's just like we get it. He has like crazy eyes, but I'm just like the Cash Patel is also like super arrogant, and he would probably like use that to his advantage. So I would like more of like something like cross the T and like cross every I. That's right. Look into my eyes. Are you hypnotized yet? Huh?
Right.
Cluck like a chicken. Use it. Use that joke or like go further with it and not make it so much of like a just a cheap little joke to make fun of his eyes.
Yeah, it's really that's a really great point because it's very like. It's very like light. It's very referencey. That's the thing. It's just like it's just like a quick reference to something we know versus like actual concrete jokes. And I think that's something that often the cold open can be a little bit guilty of. Is just like people are like, oh yeah, I know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like, oh yeah, Kristi Noem, shot her dog, and then
exactly,
her husband with the balloons is just like
right. I love Tristan. I really love the way you put that. Like, oh right, they should. I think that is exactly I think a thing to look for in your own writing when you're like, did I make a joke or am I just like referencing something that people are familiar with? That's something that's good to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
One thing that I will say about this this sketch or the cold open. Again, knowing that it is the cold open, so the expectations are a little different in terms of sketch structure. But I will say this sketch really made me think about how even sketches, we always talk about our sketches are not narratives, right? So you don't want to have a plot. You don't want to that. That's a whole different thing. However, I do think that this scene would have benefited from just like a teeny bit more intention behind it. Like if Jeffrey Epstein were coming to deliver a specific message. I feel like there's been a tendency to have like sketches where there's sort of no reason for the scene to be happening, to be playing out. And I think just the slightest bit more of intention would have allowed the beats to flow and move a little faster versus requiring hey, now let's do this, basically resetting every time. If you're not plugging your scene if you're not plugging what your idea into a scene, then you're having to generate the momentum constantly instead of riding the momentum of something a little bit more familiar that lets you get to your stuff faster.
Doing that makes your satire stronger too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not the jokes come from the satire.
Yes.
So you have to have a point of view, and maybe references is just a way to not have a point of view as well.
I love that way of putting it. Yeah. References are that's most of the time references are devoid of point of view. I think that's really interesting. Well, this is I love this already. Yeah. This is great. Anything else on the cold open before we move on?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just even going off of that too and making those reference jokes. I don't know. I feel like the Jeffrey Epstein ones were more earned. Like the line where he's like, "Oh man, all the memories you used to have. I wish we took more photos." That's just it's such a good grounded joke because it's there's a bunch of jokes like that, but the louder stuff of Kristi Noem and then even the Hexa stuff, it feels referencey, and it's just not grounded. I feel like
Yeah.
not earned. Almost. Like,
I think that's a great distinction to point to. Yeah, that's really this is great. I think this is very interesting if you're interested in like writing topical things. I think this is actually a really good thing to learn from.
You still have to have jokes.
Weird because SNL UK did it. Like they did things where they predicted into the future in their last cold open and like created new ideas of things people were doing in the future instead of referencing things. So
right.
Maybe
and it was funny
if you're a student watching these two back to back could be pretty instructive.
It was funny because then our note for them was like, this should have been the ghost of whatever future, and they kind of did it, but without actually using it. Like he was in chains and all that stuff, but like without actually using anything from that. So anyway, I think that there's still work to be done here. All right, let's move on to the monologue for time. Yeah, okay, let's chat about this monologue. What jumped out to you guys with it? This was more of a sketch kind of monologue.
I was just say first and foremost, I mean, I am a drummer and I am a Chet's fan. I don't know if that audience was or quite knew who he was yet, and that's all good. I get it. It's a running gag between those two. And then, segueing into Paul McCartney being confused. It's just like, sure, cool.
Yeah.
He's hosting too tonight. So yeah. But I did think it was great that Chad did drum later on in the music. So it was just like he was still part of the show. So I thought that was great. But just a fun little, Will Ferrell always commit to stupid stuff like that. So yeah.
I really thought sending out someone who I didn't know who it was until he said it. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. But sending out someone who looks just like him was very fun. A bit I had not seen, surprising, different, like very Will Ferrell committed, like committing to it is so huge. So I really did love that. But then coming out and trying to play hard reset, I think was really tricky. And the game didn't become like trying, like you could have done more with the idea of like an imposter is hosting instead of Will Ferrell, but like committing to then doing hard reset and saying like, oh, this is going to be weird all night. This sucks. This feels off. It's such an unintelligent way to begin your variety show. Like, it was such a harbinger of things to come. And I was like, you can't heighten this sucks or feels off.
I think that's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then I was really like, no, don't do this to Paul McCartney. No, it's not funny to name his song. I like found that pandering and not funny, and that didn't work for me, and it lost the audience. And because it didn't follow what came before, and if they had just like played out the original idea, I think that could have been a classic cold open.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's just a capsule of the whole episode to me.
I feel like Paul that whole night when he ready to do a sketch or something, it's just like I just want to play, man. He's not there for that.
Very funny. Yeah, I have to say I feel like Will Ferrell is very like the character of indignant Will Ferrell is very funny to me, and so I think that I didn't feel as thrown off by the like, well, that sucks. Like this ruined the night. Like that to me felt kind of like fun Will Ferrell-iness. But I do agree there probably was more fun to be had in mind there with like leaning into sort of the character of Will Ferrell as the indignant person. So yeah,
you can be indignant about it, but saying the vibes are off, is too weird. That's not necessarily indignant.
That's fair.
I like indignant Will too, but
I would have stayed on Chad a little bit longer. Said some shit like, "Yeah, you guys, I'm gonna do an Elf 2 and bring back like a night TV series. Just keep going with it." And
that's great.
Don't show Will until later.
Or even just like bringing him in at the same time, but just having longer of their sort of rivalry playing out when they're on stage together. But it was actually funny for me. I was sort of like looking down at the very beginning of the monologue, and then I looked up and was like, wait, that's not Will Ferrell. It took me a second, honestly.
My initial reaction was like, what have you done to his face? No, too much Botox. Oh no, it's not him. It's
that's so funny. Yeah, no, I thought this was like a fine cold open. But yeah, agree with those above notes. And then let's go into the first sketch of the night. which I actually personally, I think that to me, this was like the strongest sketch of the night. I think I'll revise that as we go. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. So this is the sketch where kind of classic, waking up from surgery and then the reveal of the unusual thing. In this case is the doctor is so sorry, but he cut off your penis. All right. So what were your thoughts about this one? Tristan, let's start with you. What jumped out to you about this one?
I think this is an example of if this is true, what else is true.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much of this was improvised in either the process of writing it or what, because it definitely felt. I just felt like it reminded me a little bit of the Dr. Beeman. I think it's like the old school Will Ferrell sketch where he's just like, "We misplaced your baby," like that sort of sketch.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, it's someone completely different, but that's same game almost. And yeah, I mean, like I said, Will Ferrell, I think, is the king of saying absurd things and heightening from there. So, I mean, for me, yeah, it was just a simple game of, yeah, if this is true, then
right.
Yeah. And,
kind of.
Yeah, that's just where it went for me.
Totally. Yeah, I think they were some. I really enjoyed. I think of these sketches as sort of like it's almost like a deconstruction sketch where like the fun is like the little details that get teased out as you back into it, kind of. Where it's like, oh, okay, like I'm so sorry. Like it ruined lunch with my wife. I couldn't even look at the shrimp volcano or whatever. Like, I thought that all of those details were really fun. This was like a very, like, I kind of like this type of sketch, even though it can often, you want to be careful about having too many of these in a show because they can be a little small and inactive and just kind of talky. But I did like the specifics that came from it. That was, that's why I sort of was overall positive on this sketch, even though again it was I feel like this is a sketch that you don't want this to be the best sketch of the night, and I think in this case I think it was, unfortunately. But anyway, what do you think, Madalyn? What jumped out to you about
Madalyn? Face.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh no, it is the best sketch. Oh no.
Yeah, right.
I just hated it so much. I think this is I agree with Marina that like the idea of a sketch where like a character has done a silly thing that you then have to find like exploring ways to find is really fun. Like I think of that as like a Georgie sketch kind of. I know people don't know who Georgie is.
Georgie Aldaco, amazing writer,
phenomenal.
She's like written a lot of things you would know, and she's very good at like coming up with something very small and very weird and then just building and blowing off of it by exploring. But my problem with this idea for that is like, I cut off your penis is like something a fifth grader would think is funny. I just was like, I don't think that's funny. I don't like thinking about Mikey Day's penis being cut off. I just thought, I would have rather it been like, we put an extra penis inside of you. Like that would have been a funnier sketch to me. Like, just like, what? Something a little bit weirder or more surprising. We cut off your penis feels like the first thought someone would have. So that's just why I felt tired of it as soon as the game was said. And I felt like it was such a waste of Will Ferrell. Though there were good Will Ferrell-y jokes in there.
Yes.
Yeah. But once again, too, he can only do that. Not Adam Driver or not,
Honestly, Adam Driver. I think that would have been very funny. I think Adam Driver.
Actually, I take it back. I love it if it's Adam Driver.
Yeah, no, it's if it's Adam Driver. That's honestly really great. Wow, that would have been fantastic. But yeah, no, I think that this basically, I do agree with you that there's a little bit of a first idea thing.
It's a really hard thing to heighten as well.
Yes.
And the scene was really static. Like if you're getting into an argument in the last page about bringing in the urologist, I'm like, you've run out of steam.
Yeah.
And like the ma'am, please don't be a bitch. It's like it's funny because Will Ferrell is saying it, but
only that.
Yeah.
Only that.
Like that can't be the funniest joke on the middle of page 3. Like that, it has to come from the idea more. So it just wasn't a strong enough idea.
I will say, even though it was not the strongest idea, I did think that this sketch had an excellent button with which was, there's one thing in your chart I saw that I have to draw your attention to, happy birthday. That was a very good button. I really think that was great.
That could have been the game. It's like, I cut off your penis, but we're gonna make a big deal about your birthday.
Yes, that's a great point.
That could have been the scene. That's interesting enough.
Yes. I think there's something interesting here really about the word, like what is playable in a sketch, like what ideas are playable. And I think that you can see, I think in a lot of these sketches, it was just like they were missing the thing that would give it momentum. Like just like it, and I think that was true what I mentioned for the cold open with Jeffrey Epstein too, where it's like, what could there be a reason that the character is here? Like, even if they lean harder into like, I just miss you so much, so I wanted to blah blah blah. Like, they're just a little tiny bit of momentum to like get some beats going. And I think that this one could have benefited from something else to generate the momentum. It did use the familiar, like, patient's going to have some follow-up questions. The voice of reason is prompting new details to come up. But yeah, I agree. The idea is a little small, but I think they probably did it about as well as you could for a small idea because the specifics were fun.
They'll bring out the urologist and be like, we can't find it. It's just like add a little more to it.
Absolutely. Okay, should we talk about the second sketch of the night? So this was the musical sketch. This was pre-tape. This was Bobbin's Sacrifice, a Lord of the Rings song. It seems like it's going to be about the Hobbit sacrificing himself, but instead it's about switching sides. Yeah.
I think this is a really teachable one.
Let's hear it. Jump on in.
Really teachable. It's so okay. So if you're doing a parody of something, you could either make it the actual thing or make it like a close thing, or even zoom back a little and make it kind of genre. So at the beginning, I'm like, it could have been Lord of the Rings, like it could have been Gimli and all those guys. You know, it could have been the exact same characters. I don't really know why it wasn't.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah,
they made it like not quite them, which sometimes works, but here I don't think it helped. Or you could have made it so it's like kind of it's a little bit of Game of Thrones, a little bit of Lord of the Rings, so we're kind of taking a trope from things that are similar. But they were really going for Lord of the Rings here, so why not just do it? Is kind of would be the first thing I'd say to a student, because you're already creating kind of like a weird thing where it's so close to the characters, but it's not them. And then just simply there's two unusual things, because the fact that there would be a song like that in this is weird.
Yeah.
It's just a classic two unusual things.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings, you stayed so close to it, does not have songs.
Right. That's a really interesting point. It could have just not been a musical sketch too. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Or make it less Lord of the Rings, so it's not an exact parody. Like
right. Yeah, that means, Tristan, what were your thoughts on this one?
Why is he singing?
Yeah.
Call it out.
Yeah.
I mean, great production design as always. Got to give it to him for that. Mm-hmm. When the turn happened, I was like, oh, that's interesting. As you said, musicals in a fantasy third role like movie like that. That's interesting. But it didn't really do anything. There were certain moves I didn't mind. Where wasn't it one where he they thought he was dead, and then James Austin's character came out, and I thought that was a good turn.
Yes.
At the moment. So I mean, once again, it's just like structurally, it was all there. Like for a lot of these sketches, it just didn't maybe hit as hard as they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I feel like this pre-tape. Well, I know we'll talk about the other pre-tape that should have been chosen instead later, but to this one, maybe this one was just to show the production, because I was amazed at that. I was like, cool, that's good. For a comedy show, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it is impressive to like for this to be part of a show that's created within a week is very impressive. I think
gotta give it that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it is really truly good to remember that.
And we've seen it fail on SNL UK because I think they don't have as big of a budget, and it's like it has to be good, and it's usually good.
I think for me, my main thought, and what you said about there being two unusual things, all of that absolutely is all true. I think that for me, I think that I just found it like also a little bit. Musical sketches are hard because you are kind of like locked into a structure and a pace. And in this case, I just found like the idea wasn't sort of like big or fun enough to merit the like weight that it took to get to the next beat. I think it felt like I agree that one turn with like I'm still alive was really fun, but other than that, I just don't think there was enough for them to do with this idea, and so it was sort of just waiting for the next thing, and it didn't really feel like I don't think I will ever, ideally with a parody of some sort or like a sketch that sort of is referencing something real. Ideally, what happens is you watch a thing in the future and you're like, this makes me think of that sketch I saw, right? Because it's familiar. I don't think there's anything I would see that would make me think of this sketch, like from Lord of the Rings, from anything. Like I don't think that anything would remind me of this because I don't think it feels like a sort of like commentary on it, calling attention to a trope, like it. And I think that made it like a little afloat, I think, to me.
Now, I was just going to add, now they could have done the entire thing like a musical where the other characters are singing and then those orbs are singing too. And maybe, you could get something out of that. Might as well just go full Lord of the Rings musical. There's your game right there. You can play that. If it's going to go that route, but
I bet they would have written really good jokes for that simpler idea. I feel like I've seen that a bit, but I haven't seen SNL do it. It probably would have been really funny.
Yeah. All right, should we talk about the next sketch? This is the spring musical sketch. This is the castless one. This sketch, I will also point out that, so this one, as we discussed earlier, is a sketch that apparently was first a cut for time sketch back in 2019, which is a little. I'm curious to know how much it changed, if much. I only learned about this literally right as I was logging on, so I'll have to do a little more digging there.
When Will Ferrell was hosting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a very long sketch. This one it ran 8 minutes, which is a very long sketch. And this one, Tristan, I'm so excited that you're here to talk about this because I found this to be a really interesting. Okay, so Will Ferrell, I mean, I would watch Will Ferrell do truly anything. Like I find him to be so funny. He just makes everything so funny. I think that there was something in this sketch that felt really, it felt really caught between two things. Oh, sorry, between more than two things, really. Where it's like the fun. There was like a fun that it wanted to have with Will Ferrell's character, but it didn't lock in enough to the character or to to the kind of a scenic element. And so instead, it felt like it kept on getting kind of scattered across the different. There's so many different characters, and the whole thing wound up feeling kind of like low energy to me as a result. And Tristan, I'm just curious to hear like what your thoughts were on this one. Like what parts were like, especially somebody who performs so many characters, like what were the parts of this that felt like really strong to you? What were the parts that like you would note as somebody who is used to like having a character move through a scene?
Yeah, that's great questions. First off, I will say the original, or the one that they did in 2019, is way funnier, and that one's very interesting too because you got Bowen and Ego, and I think most of the listeners are in the cast. And then when I watched this one, I was just like, oh god, this show got wider. Where they right? And then like Marcelo and Cam getting to the front. I know you're the last piece, but good god. But I digress because Will Ferrell in that first one is doing a lot more than he was able to do in this one. It's like in the first one, each person did have characters, but it was like they only had like one joke. It's just like one little joke. Will Ferrell, you reacted with it. They had their 2 moments, and that was it. It was just like a little bit, and that was it. And Will Ferrell was just able to like do his thing. this one I felt like, yeah, everyone was trying to get a litlittle something in with Will Ferrell. And yeah, it just, for me, I'm always just like, you can do more with less.
Yes.
You can always get like you don't have to have like a 5 lines of dialogue. You can get a lot with 3, you know?
Yeah.
And I definitely felt like, you know, yeah, I feel like Will didn't get to do a lot like he did in the first take of this. And then when like Molly Shannon came on, I was just like, oh, someone's about to get touched or something like that. And then when she did, I was like, oh, good. Yeah, it's Molly Shannon. She goes wild like that. But even that beat, I was just like, she could have came on as maybe one of her kookier characters, you know, in that same vein as well. Or yeah, the same vein as like Will's character. And then Keenan's character was also kind of kooky too. So, you know, I feel like that was a missed opportunity for, you know, Molly to have some sort of crazy wig or something like that. But I mean, yeah, when you have like I feel like a lot of crazy happening and no one really grounding it, it does get a little muddled.
Yeah. Sure. I think muddled is so the right word for this, because it felt like it felt like treading water a little bit. Like I was sort of surprised by how like weirdly somber the whole sketch felt, in a kind of strange way.
The first one's fun. Like Mikey Day, I know he's a teacher assistant now, which I thought was clever. But in the first one, he's like the student, and like I said, he has maybe like 2 things that he does, but the interactions with Will and those are just stronger and simpler.
Okay, I'm really excited to watch the first. I again only learned about this as I was logging on.
It's simple, and they're all looser too because it's cut for time, and you know they're cutting jokes. And Will Ferrell, you know, he's doing more. Just a whole lot more.
Yeah, totally.
This one to me had a base reality problem that it couldn't recover from. And then like too many jokes about sexualizing children, but that aside.
Oh God, I didn't think about that.
Cool out on that. But like, the base reality of putting I'm excited for a scene where like, oh, what's the audition gonna be? Marina and I just talked about the Katie Simon, Michael Hartney, This Girl Is in Choir sketch, right? Like that's an exciting trope to make a scene out of. And we all know you're waiting and they put up the scene. But the idea of Will Ferrell having to come out to ask last minute questions that might change the casting is weird, right? Like that isn't the base reality. So to me, it felt like if you were gonna build a scene in that way, then the thing that was strange about Will's character needed to come more out of the fact that like there were last minute changes, or like just something about the setup could have been way simpler. And was he trying on purpose to make the children feel anxious because he got the power trip on it? Like what? I think that's maybe like the closest thing they got to it with the watching through the Wicked poster, but they never like fully committed to playing that.
Hearing you say that, the first version of this leans more into that power tripness of it, because there is like a moment in that first one where he goes to the wall to put it up and he's just slowly doing it, and the entire cast is like, and see, that person's got a strong move, and he's just like, and then he just goes, wait, I forgot a stapler, and then they're all just like, and it's just like, that's what I feel like this one needed, because that first one has tension. Better. It's got tension. It's got that 3rd page or like 4th page. You know, you're still hooking the audience at that point.
Yes.
A teacher tantalizing the students over the cast list. That's a sketch.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me. You guys have both pointed out related but slightly different issues that both ultimately come down to also being real estate problems for the sketch, right? Like it's taking up so much time, like Tristan pointing out how many characters there are and how much time, like everyone has a thing. Madalyn pointing out how they don't commit to a specific point of view. Like this is why this sketch is 8 minutes, but still doesn't feel specific, right? Like it doesn't, and in theory, you would think that an 8-minute sketch would give you time, but no, this is why you have to be a little ruthlessly efficient with your sketches and think about like, what is the thing that you want to play with. I'm so eager to watch the original and
Me too.
I will be doing that afterwards.
Yeah. Everybody's having fun. You can just tell, and you know it's going to get cut.
Yeah.
So it's just like Will Ferrell's fucking with him, and
I wonder
Cecily.
if it's a young enough cast that it's the last show of the season and they're all feeling stressed about coming back.
Maybe that could be.
I wonder if
everybody was in that.
Ferrell.
Yeah, everybody was in that sketch that I found that interesting too.
Yeah,
and that's also probably why it was 8 minutes long.
Yeah,
we're showcasing the entire cast.
Everybody's got something. Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then that brings us to weekend update. So we had Mr. On Blast? Was it just Mr. On Blast?
It was just Mr. On Blast. Sarah's thing got cut for 10.
Yes. Okay, so Mr. On Blast. So yeah, what did you guys think? What were your thoughts on Mr. On Blast?
I love Mr. On Blast. Like, sure, yeah. This is fun. Sure, I like it.
It's fun. It's goofy. I think that basically character who is smug and lame is like fun to play. Yeah, Tristan, what did you think? What jumps out to you?
It's so stupid, and I mean that in a bad and fantastic way.
Yeah.
I think he did an excellent job heightening a single joke. I think that's the only way you can do it. If this character is on a news show, put the picture-in-picture on here. Bring out 2 dancers. That's the only way you can heighten that, and he does a good job. Maybe if there's a world where Colin could like look at him and be like, your burns are not that good, maybe call it out. But yeah, he's having fun, and he's had a great season. I think
he has had a great season. Is he the only one who's had 2 return characters too, like on Weekend Update? Like the Tucker Carlson's done twice, and then this one was twice. I think that I feel like this is an example of a sketch / character that is put in exactly the right frame. Like this exactly is a Weekend Update thing. It is short. It benefits from a little bit of voice of reason prompting. You don't want to get too fancy or elaborate. I could imagine them eventually winding up doing like a Mr. On Blast movie, but like that's not where we're at yet. Like right now, this is exactly what it should be. And I think the idea that like his stuff is so is so toothless that it like, so putting in the picture-in-picture and all the other stuff like is heightening the fact that it doesn't deserve to be given that kind of framing and treatment because it's so toothless. So I think that's a really, really fun character. That's like the fun of it is how unimpressive it is and how smug it is. Other thoughts on this one, or shall we move along? Tristan, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do watch whenever I do watch SNL, I always give Weekend Update its props because I think I always tell my students, because I teach Sketch 101, I'm always just like, if you need how to write a joke, set up, punchline, just watch Weekend Update. That's the only thing. And they're always go in there. Yeah, they really do. So
no, absolutely.
Jokes.
Absolutely, 100%. Awesome. Okay, great. Should we move on? So then we have 2 more sketches. It felt like there were not that many sketches. Actually, you know what? That because of the 8-minute sketch. That's right. That is why. Okay, great.
And Paul McCartney, he did 3 songs.
McCartney, that's true.
That's the show also.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So I guess that's why there weren't that many sketches. But the next one was, so what it feels like talking to a mechanic. This is a fascinating, teachable one, I think, for a number of reasons. Who wants to start? Who wants to start with this one?
Marina, you go for it.
I'll go for it. Okay.
Yeah, so for it.
The first thing was the title card. What it feels like talking to a mechanic. So I guess I'm not opposed in theory to the idea of starting a sketch with a title card so you can get to the fun right away. I think that makes perfect sense. Yes. I don't think this idea needs that though. I think that you can make the sketch and I also don't think that the auction sketch they had last week or the week before needed that. Like I think that you want that when it gives you a leg up on or when it gets you off to the races faster. So actually in that case, maybe the auction sketch did benefit from it. I don't think this one did. I also think that this was kind of an incorrect label for what most of the sketch wound up being because there were several unusual things going on here and it didn't commit to one of those things. So first there's the idea of how you go to a mechanic and they aren't saying words that like make sense to you, like, or you feel stupid at the mechanic. That's sort of what was being advertised here. And there was a little bit of that at the beginning. I don't think that's the most original observation, but I also don't think it was the thing that seemed most fun for them to play. And it didn't seem like the thing that, especially based on the voice of reason characters engaging, it didn't seem like the thing that was fun for the writer to do. Then it went to the specificity of the mechanics. They are having this like their way, like what they diagnose the problem as being like unusual thing, like come back every 6 days. I want you to come to my private party. Like those are like more fun specifics to me. That's becoming more interesting. We're sort of getting like starting to approach the world of like the mechanics as characters. But I don't think we ever really got to find out like what the specific voice of these characters is and like what makes them interesting. And so we didn't really get to have much specificity. And then we ended again with the title card. This has been what it feels like going to mechanic, which again, it felt like we had gotten even further from that than we had started at. So it felt like we just really lost the thread. But there were a few fun things embedded in here that if a student had brought this in, I would have said, okay, I really like these, the idea of like come back every, like a mechanic who's like diagnosing the problem in these kinds of ways. Like that's something interesting. Like, let's dig into that. Alternatively,
all the sounds.
Alternatively, like the British mechanic who's like the steering wheel's on the wrong side. Like there's something fun about that. Anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts for this one. What did you guys think? What jumped out for you?
Madalyn, you got
Paying ass jumped out at me.
Yes, right. I forgot about that. Yeah, it felt very. That felt like a real throwback kind of joke.
I think they got into a little bit of tricky territory. It's funny. Well, so I think the idea of like what it feels like talking to a mechanic. The mechanic isn't the weird one in that situation. It's like the response of the person talking to the mechanic is kind of like the interesting part of that, where you're like, either you're like, oh yeah, I know, oh yeah, the thingy, I got that, right? Or you're like, that's kind of unusual to have a point of view of like, I don't know what the mechanic is talking about, but I'm just gonna like act like I do because like I want to seem cool. Or you could react, I don't know, it just felt like there was something more for Ashley and Mikey to be doing potentially if you wanted to play the title card, but that isn't what it, I mean, it's just what you said, Marina, right? Like that isn't what it was, so why even bother? And why did they come up with this? Sorry. Yeah, it just, like, having someone speak in Spanish and making that a joke was just like so weird, and I hated that too. Yeah, I was really perplexed why this happened.
I have no.
And who decided that Paul McCartney should be in it? I think I'm having a hard time talking about the ones where Paul McCartney is misutilized because it hurts me so deeply in my soul.
Yeah. You're protective of Paul McCartney, as is your right. Tristan, how about you? What were your thoughts on this one?
I don't know if I have any. I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fair.
Yeah. Everything that Madalyn was saying, the moment Marcelo came in, I got a little thrown off. But I will say, the title card, I found that to be interesting because I was just like, I wonder if there needed to be some sort of other narrator. I don't know why Phil Hartman's the first person that comes into my head as just some sort of like spokesperson that could just be like, you ever been to a mechanic and this is how they talk to you? And he's just like explaining probably the logic a little bit better. Maybe that would have helped. Because
or even like subtitles of what everyone thinks they're talking about.
I like that.
I
like that.
Right, translator subtitles, commercial like I think that it just I would say it's just like I think that they just didn't lock in on an idea specifically enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely, like, usually, I think it's sometimes not a great time when you genuinely, like you were saying, Madeline, like, I don't know why this idea is, like, I genuinely can't figure out, like, aside from somebody saying, like, "Oh, I went to the mechanic and I had a really hard time there," like, I don't understand what would have prompted
Like,
this.
this is Saturday Night Live. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think that any of the mechanic characters were juicy enough that any of those actors were like, I got this
Yeah.
juicy tidbit. Like, I don't think any of them were excited about it.
Yeah, like, I like the specific as we replace the part, we keep the oil and we change all the car parts around the oil. But again, like, I think we just, if a student brought this in, I would say, okay, let's, like, what again, that question, which is the funniest part to you? And I would say, like, here are a few different directions I think you could go in. I think there's something fun about the, like, I want you to come to my private party, like, two mechanics who, whatever, like, maybe we could frame this as, like, okay, the idea that the mechanics are taught to speak to you this way, is this like a school for mechanics so that they're learning how to, like a communication school, but specifically for mechanics, so they, like, bewilder and upset you or something like that, you know, like,
oh, you can't listen to music.
Yeah. Right. Like,
that could be the whole thing.
Yeah. So anyway, this one, again, I think teachable, but was rough. Okay. And then the last sketch of the night was this meeting the family sketch. Okay. This was, what were your guys' thoughts on this one? Yeah, Tristan, let's start with you. What did you think about this one?
I mean, it's the last sketch of the night, and if Will Ferrell's going to get sew you some skin, I'm like, heighten it the right way. Those are my only thing with this, is heighten it. I'm like, you guys, this guy did was the day after 9/11 in an office, the shorts and stuff like that. So I'm just like, I'm sorry, Sarah, but yeah, y'all need to be wearing thongs, because when Marcelo came out in the wrestler outfit, and he came out in the front, I was just like, yeah, he's gonna come out in the front because that's gonna be the reveal. And then I saw the wrestler outfit, I'm just like, I don't know, dog. The audience didn't feel that heightened. I'm like, I have to show more skin. Because if you guys are going to go that way, I mean, you saw the reaction with Will Ferrell, which is like one of those things where it's just like, that had a big reaction. And so it is just like, when Sarah came out and then have as big of a reaction as Will. And it's just like, we got to remember to heighten. So it is just like, for me, it was just like the wardrobe. It was just all a wardrobe thing for me, if we were going to go that route for that joke.
Yes.
Strongly agree. It did not heighten at all.
Yeah.
I think that's also a symptom of, like, the way it was set up and how this was getting voice of reasoned.
Yeah.
And what the justification is. Because this is a pretty common type of sketch. We've talked about it on this podcast before. You're teeing up outside that you're, like, going to see your family. You go in and there's something a little weird. It reminds me of the Vogel checks where they kiss.
Yeah.
Right? It felt very similar to that. It's like, oh, they're not kissing, but they're having a costume that's funny. The idea that you're wearing a normal suit in the front and not in the back is very funny and strange. Like, why would you have a garment like that? I think there could be many justifications. And why would everyone in the family be wearing a garment like that? And I think this is one where it would have benefited from addressing it a little bit as you played it actively, and that might have given them something better to heighten on.
Or to literally hear Andrew be like, oh my God, you guys are the Hendersons, owner or creators of the half suits. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Just something. Absolutely.
I love that, Tristan, because I do think that it relying on the physical reveal. I think also there's something interesting there where, like, it's funny to laugh at Will Ferrell doing it. It feels kind of worse to laugh at a woman doing it somehow, I think, right? And then I think you're right that the Marcelo thing was just, like, so de-heightened that, like,
you got Molly Shannon there. She might.
Right? And so I think that instead of even going with the, like, underwear as the back, I really do think that, like, instead of it, even though I know, we often talk in sketch about, like, one unusual thing, what's a specific unusual thing, I think that it would still be one core unusual thing if you had, like, alternate things that were going on in the in the back, right? Instead of the lingerie, right? You could still have really fun exploring that could happen with like the front suit and the back, whatever, that would let you explore the characters a bit more. I really struggled with the dynamic between the daughter and the voice of reason boyfriend, because for a while I was like, does the daughter not know what's going on? Because they were staging it so that she didn't see. So I was confused for a lot of it.
And why isn't she like it if everyone else in her family is?
Yeah. Right. Like, because and it's not just a logical flaw that Madalyn's pointing out. It's like like possible grounds for juicy exploration and fun. Like, right. That's often when you have a sketch where you hit a logical flaw, it's not just like being annoying about like logistics. It's like, there's something fun here, like milk it, you know, like do something with it. So anyway, I think that this one really, I think that there's like so many different ways that this sketch could go. If you're just like, I think it'd be really funny to have the like suit in the front, something in the back. I think that this is the dynamic of the scene, I think, was set up all wrong. I think the direction of heightening was off. I think that it would be very interesting to try to think of like 5 different sketches that you could do with a costume that is exactly that first costume. So that's my little challenge to the listener. Come up with 5 different sketches that just use that same costume but approach it completely differently. Any other thoughts on this sketch, or should we quickly touch on the cut for time sketches? Okay, great. Which one should we start with? Hormuz. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah. So that one, Tristan, I would love for you to start with this one because you are, again, character extraordinaire. Talk to us about like what stood out to you about this one.
Just the power of Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Only he. Like I said, I feel like this is the best sketch of the night, and the fact that it wasn't even in the show, I'm just like, once you put Will Ferrell in, why did he host? I mean, everything about the specifics, like I don't know off the top of my head because there's like a lot. Because even like with Mikey Day's character, that's a thing too. I just love the idea of this. What does he say? He's like, I have nothing to lose. That's
I got nothing to lose. Yeah,
that justification.
Great point of view.
Great point of view. And I love it too because it is just like I love the setup, and this is the thing I'm always teaching in Sketch 101 is set up that first page, your base reality and whatnot. I love the news flashes letting you know of like the straight and whatnot, and then just Will Ferrell is just the force of him coming in like that and just I have nothing to lose and just figuring out ways to get your shit shipped to the criminal that this was not in the show.
Yeah, great character.
Topical.
Great
topical too.
Topical. Yeah,
and
totally.
It's a great, and I thought this was a great example of like, your topical pieces can be character pieces. There are ways to, take dark stuff, even with like the Trump stuff, you can get around that and just get to the funny. Just ask yourself your question, what's funny about this? And it's just like, what if there was some random dude who was just who didn't give a shit, and was just able to get your stuff, shit through the straight. And
totally.
Yeah, great topical piece.
A fantastic piece. It feels like it's pulling enough from like types of people that you kind of know that it's like that it's really that it sings. Yes, absolutely. How about you, Madalyn? What jumped out to you about this one?
I'm not. Yes.
Yeah, cosign. Just cosign. Yeah, I think this is great. I will only add, Tristan, that when you said only Will Ferrell, I did have a brief moment where I was like, I do think Adam Driver could have done this. And now I'm like going back through and being like, are Adam Driver and Will Ferrell kind of like, is there something energetically about them that's sort of like connected in the way that like Liam Neeson kind of like filled in pretty well for for Leslie Nielsen. Anyway,
I was gonna say, now that I think about it, I could see Will Ferrell in Marriage Story. Yeah, he could.
Right?
He's a really good dramatic actor too. Yeah,
hey,
that's really funny.
Don't
all right, there we go. All right, so let's talk about the other two. So there was the the Tubin juicy, what was it?
Juicy Tubins.
Juicy Tubins. Okay, great. The Juicy Tubins. A fun character sketch to me. Like, I think that this one, there were a few things that probably could have been like tightened up a little bit more. I think they probably ran into a little bit of trouble with like how much they wanted him to do to the kids or in front of the kids. But like, I think that they probably could have figured that out. But I thought this was a really fun and clean, and I wanted to know more about that guy.
Yeah.
Also, we've talked a couple of times this year about sketches with kids in them, especially the SNL UK football tunnel one. And like this was an example of like, you kind of can yell at them.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Like we trust Will Ferrell, and we know that he's yelled at kids and things before, both in the Landlord and in Elf, and like it's okay. And it's funny. It's like funny when you can actually go there instead of not doing the thing that you're talking about. So anyways, it was a great example of like it can work actually.
Absolutely.
This was just a great character piece, going with what Madalyn was saying too, just like yelling with the kids. This was a great grounded way of doing it. A security guard for like a kids music show. I thought it was great. I had this note of perfect page one. I loved Ashley's setup.
Yes.
I love Jeremy coming in, instigating it. And I love I say juicy, you say Tubin, and then Will Ferrell just coming in. When I say shut up, or when I say back up, you back the hell up. So big, you know where it's going. And it could have been tightened up a little bit towards the end, but it's Will Ferrell. Start with that sketch instead of Dr. There's your...
I think they could have cleared up a lot in this scene too, just by saying, like, by making a joke about an incident that happened recently.
Yeah,
sure,
right.
Sure.
They did have the justification like later on that, but for that what was it? He was in Iran. I can't remember what exactly it was, but I do think that they could have probably explored a little bit more by like having maybe the cast members have like a little bit more of an opinion about what his deal was. That would be my note, is like maybe streamlining a little bit of what was on the page to make room for something for it coming from another direction in a sort of surprising way. But on the whole, I was like, this is really fun, big energy character. And
I know how to safely throw a kid.
I know how to safely throw a kid is such a good line. It's so funny. It's so funny. I cannot believe that this was not in the show. It was.
And I was just gonna say too, I think having Jeremy as a voice of reason, being like, "Yo, Chet, dude, would you?" Or whatever is the character's name. Maybe that would have helped bring that up a little, tighten it up a little bit, just to have him as a voice of reason.
I love that.
Totally. I think that's right. And then I'm blanking on what the last one. There were 3.
It was Ashley as the dad.
Oh, the dad.
And
Yes.
Will as the teen.
Yes. That one was interesting. My main note for that one would be, I think that you need to say, your son is just so big earlier on. I think you need to just label that that it's somebody who's like intimidated by their son because he is such a large son. And I think you could because I think it was a little bit split between my son can bully me, which happened at the end, and like I'm just a pushover, and Will Ferrell happens to be playing my son. It sort of to me felt a little bit like when you're like in an improv show, and if somebody is like, you have the folding chairs on stage, right? And then if one of the people on stage is like, wow, I'm so happy you're for our wedding. Like, I can't believe you only have 6 folding chairs here. It's like, but that's just, we were suspending our disbelief because you told us to. It's like when they mentioned like he's really big at the end, I was like, oh, well, I didn't know that he was supposed to be really big in the world of this.
Which makes sense that Ashley is playing the dad. Like, get to it.
Get to it faster and then play that. It's slightly different than him being a pushover, but like it's Anyway, what were your guys' thoughts on this one?
Yeah, why didn't you put it in the show? You got the strongest performer, Ashley. Is strong. She's dangerous. I got to commend her too for this season. She's. I see Kathleen O'Hara vibes whenever I watch her perform. She's dangerous comedian, and then to have her with Will Ferrell, I was just like, I want to see this movie where she's his caretaker. Yes, I don't know what he has, but I want. Their chemistry was fantastic, and once again, I would have put it in the show. Because just to showcase that.
Yeah.
They were great. They're fantastic.
It's also just like, it really is like reading over this, like, and actually this is something that I really want to, I know we're just about at time, but I do want to like briefly touch upon, which is that I feel like the energy of each of the sketches was very redundant in the show that wound up airing, right? Like characters that felt pretty low energy, kind of quiet, talky, all of that stuff. And Tristan, you've done a number of like one person shows, character shows, all of these things. Like, how do you think about like varying up your characters' energies or the sketch's energy, and like how do you make a sketch with a low energy character pop? Because it's not that you shouldn't have low energy characters or characters that are quiet. It's just like there's just a way to do it and put them in a show like a little bit more thoughtfully. Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about how you think through those things?
I mean, right off the bat, I mean, that Fallon in a courtroom piece that I did is just like, I start off big, but then it's like he's testifying for a murder. I feel like you have to ground it by just playing it low energy, but it's just like the intention, your words, the quote unquote action or whatever the scene of how you're describing the murder. That's where your jokes have to be. And I mean, I do like a good low energy, but if it's like something that's super absurd and it's just like, oh, we're still exploring this quote unquote game or exploring the weird, but just doing it in like a low energy-esque type way, but it's just good writing, I think. Still helps. And that piece in particular too with the Fallon one, because it is just like my like one of my beats too is just doing impressions, the way Fallon does impressions of like Sandler and Seinfeld. But it's just like it's still low, it's still like serious situation, but it's just like the joke is still high. It's like the performance is low, but the joke is still high. If that makes sense. And when it does come to like entirety of shows, I'm always just like, your first sketch should kind of be high energy because you got to get the audience hooked and whatnot. And the second one you can let breathe a little bit. Maybe your third and fourth one you can like slow things, or better yet, after that second one, you probably want to get that energy back up with like your third or fourth one. Then you can like tone things down a little bit, and hopefully lastly you can like wrap things up into one. But I'm always a fan of start big, then tone it down a little bit, then pick it back up. Roller coaster. Up and down roller coaster.
I think it also the idea of like what I'm thinking about too is like so many of these sketches, it wasn't just that they were low energy, it's just that they left us waiting kind of for like where are we going, and like having to listen very carefully in a way that ideally you're not having to kind of parse or figure out. So I think there's something there too.
Once again, to go from that monologue to the Tubins more so than the doctor thing, it was just like that would have kept that energy up. And then have that Hormuz Jeff follow right after, and it's just like, oh, good God.
It's a much different show.
Such a different show. There are five kind of sleepy sketches, and one of them was 8 minutes long. It's like, that's tough. That's really, really tough. But this has been so much fun to talk about. I am so glad that you guys were both able to be here. Before we go, I would love to hear plugs. So Madalyn, let's start with you. Then we'll go to Tristan if you have anything that you'd like to plug.
I do story coaching. You can book me. You can go to my website, madalynmaldanzi.com, and check it out.
Yes, work with Madalyn. Madalyn's so good at giving story notes. All right, Tristan, how about you? Any plugs?
The foundation will return to UCB Wednesday, June 17th.
Amazing.
We will be paired with someone, but we will be doing a 30-minute sketch show.
Amazing. Great. You must check out the foundation. They're an incredible team that I had the absolute joy of directing for a little while, and they're just fantastic. So highly encourage you to check them out. And then my plug, as always, is spread the word about this to all of your fellow sketch nerds, your teammates, your students, your teachers. It helps so much to get more people on board, and then we can all pool our questions and input and everything together to make the book I'm writing the best possible resource it can be. So thank you so much, both of you, for coming today and for talking through all of this. And I can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. Take care. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.